Hello friends, I am your chemistry faculty from QLS Academy. Today we are going to learn about writing chemical formula. हम किसी भी chemical formula को कैसे लिख सकते हैं. I hope you will enjoy today's learning. So let's start our today's lesson. In last class we saw that elements are given symbols and short forms for their easy representation. It is not always possible to write the whole thing, so elements, compounds are given some short names. Now, since we know chemical symbols, let's learn writing chemical formula. किसी भी chemical formula को लिखने के लिए दो चीज़ों की requirement होती है. First is the symbol of the chemical species, means elements. Second is the valency of those chemical species. Now, you know about the symbols. So, let's move on to valency. So, valency क्या है? What is valency? The combining capacity of the atoms to combine with atoms of same or different elements to form molecules is defined as valency. किसी भी एटम का किसी और एलिमेंट के एटम के साथ कंबाइन होने की जो कैपेसिटी होती है उसे वैलेंसी कहते हैं. वी कैन अंडरस्टैंड इट एज हैंड्स टू होल्ड थिंग्स. हमारे पास दो हाथ है, सो हम एट अ टाइम दो चीजों को पकड़ सकते हैं एक साथ. सिमिलरली ऑक्टोपस हैज 8 appendages टू होल्ड थिंग्स. मीन्स ऑक्टोपस एट अ टाइम 8 चीजों को एक साथ पकड़ सकता है. Like in H2O. H2O has 2 hydrogen and only 1 oxygen. Here the valency of oxygen is 2 as it is combining with 2 atoms of hydrogen, while the atoms of hydrogen have a valency of 1 because both of them are combining with 1 oxygen atom. Hydrogen के दोनों atoms एक ही oxygen से combine हो रहे हैं. Now you can see valencies of some common elements in this given image. We will learn more about valency in next chapter. For now, we are okay with valency. हर काम को करने के लिए कुछ rules होते हैं. Similarly, there are also some rules to write chemical formula. So now let's look into the rules of writing chemical formula. The first and the most important rule is that charge and valency of ions and atoms should be satisfied. किसी भी chemical की valency satisfied नहीं होगी तो वो unstable होगा. Means उसका molecule break हो जाएगा. All its atom will separate out. Similarly, charged molecules will also be unstable. Imagine we need a chemical reaction to occur between two chemicals, say A and B. But both the molecules are charged, say negatively charged. You know that same charges repel each other. एक जैसा charge होगा तो वो एक दूसरे को repel करेंगे, एक दूसरे से दूर भागेंगे. So, A and B will repel each other and hence no chemical reaction will occur. Now, what if A is negatively charged and B is positively charged? Since opposite charges attract each other, opposite charge एक दूसरे को attract करते हैं, so A and B will bind with each other. This may help in combination reactions, but it is not quite suitable for other reactions. The second rule is when a compound is consist of both metals and non-metals, the name of the metal always comes first. Let's take example of some compounds. Sodium chloride, calcium oxide, copper oxide, ferric sulfide. Here, sodium, calcium, iron and copper are metals, while chlorine, oxygen and sulfur are non-metals. So, metals को हमेशा पहले लिखा जाता है and then non-metals. Now, the third rule. The compounds which are formed of polyatomic ions, the ions are enclosed in a bracket before writing the number indicating their ratio. कुछ compounds ऐसे होते हैं जो charged particles से मिलके बनते हैं. Here the compound can be divided into two portions, a neutral or positively charged ion and a negatively charged ion. For example, ferric carbonate. Here CO3 carbonate is a negatively charged polyatomic ion. It's an anion. And Fe is neutral with valency of +3, means it can combine with 3 more atoms or molecules. किसी भी atom का जो valency अगर plus में होगा means वो उतने चीज़ों के साथ combine और हो सकता है. Carbonate anion अपने आप में complete है. If we try to break it, its property will change. So, this polyatomic anion is treated as a whole single entity. Therefore, the ratio of the carbonate ion is the ratio of the both carbon and oxygen atoms combined. And thus, ferric carbonate में उनका ratio एक साथ लिखा जाता है. Now, let's learn to write chemical formula of simple compounds. The most simple compounds are the compounds formed by the combination of two different elements. दो अलग-अलग elements जब मिलके compound बनाते हैं उसे हम कहते हैं सबसे simple compound और उसे हम mostly कहते हैं binary compounds. In this image, you can see valencies of some common elements. Now let's start writing formula. सबसे पहले हम water का formula लिखते हैं. For this, we will write the symbols of the constituent elements of water. Water बनता है hydrogen and oxygen से. Below the symbol of each element, we will write their respective valencies. हम उनके नीचे उनके valencies लिखेंगे. From the list, we can check that hydrogen has a valency of 1, while oxygen has a valency of 2. Now, crisscross the valencies of the constituent elements and place them as the subscripts to get the formula. After following all the three steps, we will get formula of water as H2O. Now let's try to write the formula of carbon tetrachloride. We will follow the same steps as we did before. We will write the symbols of carbon and chloride, and below them we will write their valencies. From the list showing valencies of different elements, you can see that valency of carbon is 4 while the valency of chlorine is 1. Now again crisscross the valencies. This will give us the formula of carbon tetrachloride as CCl4. Now let's see how can we write formula of charged ions. Formula of ionic compounds are whole number ratios of the positive and negative ions present in the compound. Just a few minutes ago I said that किसी भी chemical compound की valency and charge satisfied होना चाहिए, otherwise it will be unstable. So ionic compounds के formula लिखते time हमें उनके charges का ध्यान रखना होगा. We will have to make sure that the total charge of the compound formed should be 0. In this image, you can see charges of some common elements. Let's take example of magnesium chloride. First, identify the cation and anion of the compound. From the table, you can see that magnesium is a cation while chloride is an anion. Now, write the symbol of the ions along with their charges on them. The cation is always followed by anion. पहले हम cation के लिखेंगे, उसके बाद हम anion के बारे में लिखेंगे. Now, cross multiply the valencies of ions. This will give us the formula MgCl2 for magnesium chloride. Thus, to neutralize two positive charges of magnesium, two negatively charged chloride ions are required. The simple ratio of magnesium and chloride is 1:2. For each magnesium atom, we will require 2 chlorine atoms. Now, let's write chemical formula of polyatomic ionic compounds. The third rule of writing chemical formula stated that polyatomic ions should be treated as 1, and hence their ratio in the compound should be represented by a bracket around them. Here, the charge of the ions are not indicated. Let's take example of calcium hydroxide. In this image, you can see charges of some common polyatomic ions along with some elements. Calcium hydroxide can be divided into two parts: calcium ion and hydroxide ion. As you can see from the table that calcium is positively charged. It is a cation with charge +2, while hydroxide is a polyatomic anion with charge -1. Now let's write the symbol of calcium and hydroxide. Below them, write their charges. Calcium का charge +2 है, hydroxide का charge -1 है. Now cross multiply them. This will give CaOH2. Do you think that this formula is the correct formula? Okay, let's move on. So, calcium require 2 ions of hydroxide to neutralize its charge. अब क्योंकि हाइड्रोक्साइड पूरा एक कंप्लीट आयन है, ये अपने आप में एक कंप्लीट एंटिटी है, इसलिए हम उसे ब्रैकेट के अंदर लिखेंगे. So, the final and correct formula for calcium hydroxide is CaOH twice, this one. So friends, this was all for writing chemical formula. Now you know how to symbolize different elements and compounds and also how to write a chemical formula. Hope this was not too difficult to understand. Still, if you have any doubt or require any help, you can visit the following link.